Crash landing. The starship Horizont cut through the inky blackness of space, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen sat rigidly in her command chair, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling, purple anomaly that filled the main view screen. "Status report," Sarah barked, her fingers drumming against the armrest. Lieutenant Ravi Mehta's hands flew over his console. "The anomaly's energy output is increasing, Captain. Our sensors can't penetrate it." Sarah nodded, a wry smile tugging at her lips. Just another day exploring the unknown, eh? The Horizont was humanity's most advanced deep space vessel, sent to investigate a series of strange energy signatures at the edge of charted space. Sarah and her crew of 50 were the best Earth had to offer, scientists, soldiers, and explorers united in their mission to push the boundaries of human knowledge. "Captain," called out Ensign Maria Valdez from her station, "I'm detecting a massive gravitational spike." Before Sarah could respond, the ship lurched violently. Red warning lights bathed the bridge in an eerie glow as alarms blared. "We're caught in some kind of gravitational eddy," Ravi shouted over the din. "It's pulling us in." Sarah's mind raced. "Full reverse thrusters. Divert all power to the engines." The ship groaned under the strain, but it was no use. The purple anomaly expanded, engulfing the Horizont in a blinding flash of light. Sarah's stomach lurched as reality seemed to twist around them. For a moment that felt like eternity, there was nothing but chaos. Then, just as suddenly, they were through. The view screen showed a sea of stars, but not the familiar constellations they had known. "Report," Sarah demanded, fighting down a wave of nausea. "We've been transported," Maria said, her voice shaking. "I can't recognize any of these star patterns. We're lost, Captain." Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. "All right, let's not panic. Ravi, what's our ship status?" Ravi's face was grim as he looked up from his console. "Not good, Captain. We've suffered heavy damage to our propulsion and life support systems. We need to find a place to set down for repairs, and fast." Sarah nodded, her mind already formulating a plan. Maria scanned for any habitable planets in range. For several tense minutes, the only sound on the bridge was the beeping of computers and the labored breathing of the crew. Finally, Maria's console lit up. "I've got something," she exclaimed. "A planet about 30 minutes away at our current speed. Atmosphere is breathable, gravity close to Earth normal." "Any signs of civilization?" Sarah asked. Maria shook her head. "Nothing our sensors can detect, but there's something strange about the readings. The entire planet seems to be giving off a low-level energy signature." Sarah's eyebrows furrowed. Under normal circumstances, such an anomaly would warrant careful study from orbit. But these were far from normal circumstances. "We don't have much choice," she said firmly. "Plot a course for the planet. We'll have to risk it." As they approached, the planet grew larger in the view screen. It was a vibrant world of deep greens and blues, with swirling white clouds obscuring much of the surface. Despite their dire situation, Sarah couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. They were about to set foot on a world no human had ever seen before. The thrill was short-lived. As they entered the atmosphere, multiple systems began to fail. "Captain, we're losing control," Ravi shouted. "Something's interfering with our electronics." Sarah gripped her chair as the ship bucked and shuddered. Everyone braced for impact. The Horizont plummeted through the clouds, its hull glowing red-hot from the friction. Sarah caught glimpses of a dense jungle canopy rushing up to meet them. With a deafening crash, they plowed into the trees. Metal screamed as branches and vines tore at the ship. After what seemed like an eternity, they ground to a halt. Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of ruptured pipes and the groans of her injured crew. Sarah pushed herself up, ignoring the blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. "Sound off. Is everyone all right?" The chorus of pained affirmatives answered her. As the emergency lights flickered on, Sarah surveyed the damage. The bridge was a mess of sparking consoles and twisted metal, but miraculously, everyone had survived. "Ravi, Maria, with me," Sarah ordered. "We need to check on the rest of the crew and assess our situation." As they made their way through the ship, the extent of the damage became clear. The Horizont would never fly again, at least not without extensive repairs they had no way of making. Of the 50 crew members, 12 were seriously injured, with the rest nursing minor wounds. Sarah organized rescue parties to retrieve emergency supplies and set up a camp outside the ship. As she stepped onto the alien world for the first time, she was struck by its beauty and strangeness. The air was thick and humid, filled with the calls of unseen creatures. Bioluminescent plants cast an ethereal glow over everything, pulsing gently as if alive. But there was something else, a feeling Sarah couldn't quite place. It was as if the very ground beneath her feet was thrumming with energy. "Captain," Maria called out, her voice tense. "You need to see this." Sarah followed Maria's gaze and felt her breath catch in her throat. Rising above the tree line in the distance were unmistakable signs of artificial structures, crumbling spires that seemed to glow with the same bioluminescence as the plant life around them. "My God," Sarah whispered, "we're not alone." As the implications of their discovery sank in, Sarah knew their mission had changed. No longer were they merely struggling to survive. They were now the first ambassadors of humanity on an alien world. And somewhere out there, amidst those ancient ruins, lay answers to questions they hadn't even thought to ask. "All right," Sarah said, her voice ringing with determination. "Let's set up camp here. Tomorrow, we explore those ruins." As night fell on the alien world, casting long shadows and intensifying the bioluminescent glow of the flora, Sarah stood at the edge of their makeshift camp. She watched her crew working tirelessly to salvage what they could from the Horizont, setting up shelters and tending to the wounded. Their efficiency and resilience filled her with pride. But as she gazed at the distant, glowing spires, a mix of excitement and apprehension churned in her gut. What would they find in those alien ruins? Friends, foes, or something beyond their comprehension? One thing was certain: their adventure on this mysterious planet was only beginning. And Sarah Chen, captain of the lost starship Horizont, was determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead with all the courage and ingenuity humanity had to offer. As the alien sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the camp in an otherworldly twilight, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Well," she murmured to herself, "isn't this one for the history books?" With that, she turned back to her crew, ready to prepare for the unknown wonders and dangers that tomorrow would bring. The alien sun crept over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of deep purple and amber. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the edge of the camp, her eyes fixed on the distant ruins that loomed like silent sentinels over the jungle canopy. She took a deep breath, savoring the strange, sweet scent of the alien flora that surrounded them. "Ready for this, Captain?" Sarah turned to see Ravi approaching, his dark hair tousled and bags under his eyes. Like the rest of the crew, he'd barely slept, too wired from their crash landing and the prospects of what lay ahead. "As ready as we'll ever be," Sarah replied with a wry smile. "Got the team assembled?" Ravi nodded. "Dr. Ilara Voss is gearing up now. She's practically bouncing off the walls with excitement." Sarah chuckled. That xenobiologist had been like a kid in a candy store since they'd landed, marveling at every alien leaf and insect they encountered. And security. "Sergeant Kira Yoshida is prepping her squad as we speak," Ravi confirmed, "though I'm not sure what good our weapons will do if we run into anything truly alien." Sarah's expression turned serious. "Let's hope we don't have to find out. Remember, we're explorers first. I want to avoid any show of force unless absolutely necessary." As they made their way back to the center of the camp, Sarah saw Dr. Voss fiddling with a handheld scanner, her blonde hair tied back in a messy ponytail. Sergeant Yoshida stood nearby, her muscular frame tense as she checked and double-checked her team's equipment. "All right, listen up," Sarah called out, drawing everyone's attention. "We're about to embark on arguably the most important expedition in human history. Whatever we find in those ruins could change everything we know about life in the universe. But remember, we're guests here. We observe, we document, but we do not interfere unless our lives are in danger. Is that clear?" A chorus of affirmatives rang out. Sarah nodded, satisfied. "Good. Let's move out." The journey through the jungle was arduous. The alien vegetation seemed to pulse with life, reacting to their presence in subtle ways. Vines would occasionally shift out of their path, while flowers turned to follow their movement. Dr. Voss was in her element, her scanner constantly wiring as she took readings of everything they passed. "It's incredible," she breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. The entire ecosystem seems to be interconnected at a cellular level. It's almost as if the planet itself is a single, living organism. As they drew closer to the ruins, the feeling of being watched intensified. Sarah couldn't shake the sensation that the very trees were observing them, assessing their every move. She noticed Sergeant Yoshida's hand hovering near her weapon, and she couldn't blame her. The air felt charged with potential energy, like the moment before a lightning strike. Finally, they emerged from the dense foliage into a vast clearing. The ruins rose before them, breathtaking in their alien beauty. Spiraling towers of an opalescent material stretched towards the sky, their surfaces etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "My God," Ravi whispered, all evident in his voice. "This technology, it's light years beyond anything we've ever encountered." Sarah was about to respond when a flicker of movement caught her eye. She turned, her heart racing, and found herself face to face with a being that defied description. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body a symphony of iridescent scales and softly glowing bioluminescent patches. It had 4 arms, each ending in delicate, multi-jointed fingers. But it was the creature's eyes that held Sarah transfixed. Large, faceted orbs that shimmered with intelligence and something that looked unsettlingly like recognition. For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly, deliberately, the alien raised one of its hands in what was unmistakably a gesture of greeting. Sarah's training kicked in. She mirrored the gesture, her voice steady as she spoke. "We come in peace. We are explorers from a planet called Earth." The alien tilted its head, studying Sarah intently. Then, to everyone's shock, it spoke, not in words, but in a series of musical tones that seemed to resonate in their very bones. Dr. Voss fumbled with her translator, frantically adjusting settings. After a moment, a stilted, mechanical voice emerged from the device. "Welcome, Star Wanderers. I am Zara, last guardian of Lumina." Sarah's mind reeled. Not only had they encountered an alien civilization, but one capable of learning their language in a matter of moments. She took a deep breath, acutely aware that her next words could shape the course of human history. "Zara," she said, her voice filled with respect and curiosity, "we are honored to meet you. Our ship crashed on your world, and we seek help and knowledge." Zara's bioluminescent patches pulsed in what Sarah hoped was a positive response. The alien's next words, however, sent a chill down her spine. "Your arrival was foreseen, Sarah Chen of Earth. The planet has awakened, and with it, an ancient power. Your presence here is no accident." Sarah exchanged stunned glances with her team. How did Zara know her name? And what did it mean about the planet awakening? Before she could ask, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The ruins around them hummed with energy, the strange patterns on their surface coming alive with pulsing light. Zara's voice took on an urgent tone. "Quickly, you must come with me. The awakening has begun, and we have much to discuss if your kind is to survive what comes next." As Sarah and her team hurried after Zara into the glowing ruins, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had stepped into something far larger and more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The fate of not just their crew, but possibly their entire species, now hung in the balance. The alien structures seemed to come alive around them, corridors shifting and reforming as they passed. Sarah struggled to maintain her composure, her mind racing with questions. What was this awakening? How had their arrival been foreseen? And most pressingly, what kind of threat were they about to face? As they delved deeper into the heart of the ancient city, Sarah realized that their mission had irrevocably changed. They were no longer just explorers or crash survivors. They had become unwitting players in a cosmic drama that had been unfolding for millennia. And as the otherworldly glow of the ruins enveloped them, Sarah Chen steeled herself for whatever revelations awaited. Humanity's first contact had only just begun, and the true test of their species' ingenuity and resilience lay ahead. The awakening threat. The heart of the ancient alien city pulsed with an ethereal light, casting strange shadows as Captain Sarah Chen and her team followed Zara through a labyrinth of ever-shifting corridors. The air thrummed with energy, making the hairs on the back of Sarah's neck stand on end. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber. At its center stood a towering crystalline structure that seemed to contain a swirling galaxy of lights. The Nexus, Zara intoned, her musical voice tinged with reverence, the living memory of Lumina and all who came before. Dr. Ilara Voss stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. Incredible. Is this some kind of quantum computer? Zara's bioluminescent patches flickered in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as amusement. Your words are inadequate. The Nexus is life, memory, and consciousness intertwined. It is through this that Lumina speaks. Sarah frowned. You keep referring to Lumina as if it's alive. Do you mean the planet itself? Yes and no, Zara replied enigmatically. Lumina is more than mere rock and soil. It is a vast, interconnected organism of which every plant, every creature, even the very air you breathe, is a part, and it has been sleeping for eons, until now. As if on cue, the ground beneath them shuddered. The lights within the Nexus began to swirl more rapidly, coalescing into recognizable shapes, star systems, planets, and what looked disturbingly like massive spacefaring vessels. Long ago, Zara continued, my people, the Luminari, achieved harmony with Lumina. We became its caretakers, nurturing its growth and exploring the stars as extensions of its consciousness. But we were not alone in the cosmos. The images in the Nexus shifted, showing scenes of devastation, worlds consumed by fire, civilizations crumbling. We encountered a race of beings consumed by insatiable hunger for energy. They devoured entire planets, leaving nothing but lifeless husks in their wake. We fought them for millennia, but in the end, we could not stop them. In a final, desperate act, we used the last of our technology to put Lumina into a deep slumber, hiding it from the devourers. Sarah's mind reeled as she processed the implications. And now it's waking up. Because of us? Zara's faceted eyes seemed to bore into Sarah's soul. Your arrival was the catalyst, yes, but the awakening was inevitable. Lumina could not sleep forever. Sergeant Kira Yoshida, who had been silently observing until now, stepped forward. So what's the threat? These devourers. Zara's bioluminescent patches dimmed. If only it were that simple. The awakening has triggered ancient defense systems, safeguards put in place to protect Lumina. But after eons of dormancy, they have become unstable. Even now, they rise from the depths of the planet, indiscriminate in their directive to eliminate all perceived threats. As if to underscore Zara's words, a violent tremor shook the chamber. In the distance, they heard what sounded like an unearthly roar. We don't have much time, Zara urged. The defense systems will soon reach the surface. If they are not contained, they will not only destroy you but potentially tear Lumina apart in their blind rampage. Sarah's mind raced, years of command training kicking in. All right, what do we need to do? There are 3 control nodes scattered across the planet, Zara explained, gesturing to the Nexus. The swirling lights formed a map, highlighting 3 distinct locations. We must reach them and input the deactivation codes before the defense systems fully awaken. But the journey will be perilous. The very ecosystem of Lumina will fight against us, seeing us as intruders. Ravi, who had been furiously taking notes on his datapad, looked up with a furrowed brow. Wait, if you're the last of the Luminari and the caretaker of this place, why can't you just shut it down yourself? Zora's form seemed to droop slightly. My physical form is but a projection, an echo of what the Luminari once were. I am bound to the Nexus, unable to traverse the planet as you can. That is why your arrival is so crucial. You, Sarah-Chen, and your people represent hope, not just for Lumina, but for countless worlds that may fall to the Devourers if we fail. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Sarah's shoulders. She took a deep breath, squaring them as she faced her team. Well, folks, looks like we've got a planet to save. Dr. Voss, I want you working with Zara to understand everything you can about Lumina's biology. If we're going up against a living planet, we need every advantage we can get. Sergeant Yoshida, prep your team for hostile terrain. Sounds like the whole planet's going to be gunning for us. Ravi, you're with me. We need to figure out how to reach these control nodes as quickly as possible. As her crew sprang into action, Sarah turned back to Zara. I have to ask, why us? Why trust humanity with something this important? Zara's eyes seemed to shimmer with an ancient wisdom. Because, Sarah-Chen, in all our explorations, we Luminari never encountered a species quite like yours. Your adaptability, your relentless drive to overcome obstacles, these are qualities that may yet tip the balance. You crashed on an alien world, and instead of succumbing to despair, you immediately sought to explore and understand. That is why you were chosen. Another tremor rocked the chamber, more violent than before. In the distance, the roar grew louder, accompanied by the sound of rending metal. That's the ship, Ravi exclaimed in horror. The defense systems, they're tearing apart the horizon. Sarah's expression hardened. There was no going back now. All right, people, time's up. We've got a job to do, and the clock's ticking. Let's show this planet what humanity's made of. As they rushed to gather supplies and finalize their plans, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. They were about to embark on a journey across an alien world, facing dangers beyond imagination, with the fate of not just their crew, but potentially the entire galaxy hanging in the balance. But as she looked at the determined faces of her team, Sarah felt a surge of pride and hope. They had come to this planet as explorers, but now they would prove themselves as saviors. And in doing so, they would show the cosmos that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. With a final nod to Zara, Sarah led her team out of the chamber and into the alien wilderness beyond. The awakening threat loomed before them, but they would face it head-on, armed with human ingenuity, courage, and the unshakable will to survive against all odds. As they stepped out into the pulsing, hostile landscape of Lumina, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. All right, let's go save a planet. Unlikely allies. The alien sun beat down mercilessly as Captain Sarah-Chen and her team trekked through the increasingly hostile landscape of Lumina. What had once been a lush, bioluminescent jungle had transformed into a nightmarish tangle of thorny vines and carnivorous plants that snapped at their heels with every step. Watch your six, Sergeant Yoshida called out, her rifle trained on a writhing mass of vegetation that seemed to be following their movements. This whole down planet is trying to kill us. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, checking the holographic map projected from her wrist device. We're getting close to the first control node, just a few more kilometers and... Her words were cut short by a deafening roar that shook the very ground beneath their feet. From beyond a ridge ahead, a massive shape rose into the sky, a colossal amalgamation of metal, stone, and living tissue that defied description. Holy shit, Ravi breathed, his eyes wide with terror and awe. Is that... One of the defense systems, Sarah confirmed grimly, and it's between us and the control node. Dr. Voss's voice crackled over their comms. Captain, I'm picking up some strange energy readings. It's not just the defense system, there's something else out there, something artificial. Before Sarah could respond, the air around them shimmered, and suddenly they were surrounded by a group of aliens unlike anything they had encountered before. These beings were tall and spindly, with mottled grey skin and multiple sets of arms. Their eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and they brandished weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Well, a gravelly voice spoke in stilted English. "What have we here?" "Some tasty morsels for the harvesters." Sarah's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she held a fire. "We mean you no harm. We're trying to deactivate the planet's defense systems before they tear this world apart." The alien who had spoken, clearly the leader, let out a harsh bark of laughter. "Deactivate? Oh no, little human. We're here to claim this world's power for ourselves. The Void Consortium will not be denied its prize." Sergeant Yoshida tensed, ready for a fight, but Sarah held up a hand to stay her. An idea was forming, a desperate one, but possibly their only chance. "Listen," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You want this planet's power. You won't get it if those defense systems reduce everything to rubble. Help us deactivate them, and maybe we can work something out." The alien leader's eyes narrowed, considering her words. But before he could respond, the massive defense system let out another ear-splitting roar. The ground shook violently, and both humans and aliens alike were thrown off balance. "Skrek's teeth," the alien leader cursed. "That thing will destroy us all before we can harvest anything." Sarah saw her opening. "We have the codes to shut it down, but we need to reach the control node. You have the firepower to get us there. What do you say? Temporary alliance." For a tense moment, Sarah thought the alien would refuse. But then grudgingly he nodded. "Very well, human. But know this, once that monstrosity is dealt with, all bets are off." "Agreed," Sarah said, hoping she wasn't making a terrible mistake. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen, and you are?" "Zexkrol," the alien replied, "Void Reaver of the Consortium. Now, let's move before we all end up as part of this cursed planet's ecosystem." As the unlikely alliance made their way towards the control node, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of their situation. Humans, working alongside alien scavengers to save a living planet from its own defense systems. It was the stuff of bad science fiction holodramas. But as they crested the ridge and came face to face with the full might of Lumina's awakened defenses, Sarah knew that their combined strength was their only hope of survival. The defense system towered above them, a writhing mass of metal and organic matter that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Tendrils of energy lashed out, vaporizing everything they touched. The air was thick with the acrid smell of ozone and burning vegetation. "By the void," Zexkrol hissed. "How are we supposed to get past that?" Sarah's mind raced, analyzing the situation. "We need a distraction, something to draw its attention while a small team sneaks through to the control node." Zexkrol's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "A suicide mission, then? How quaint. Very well, we shall provide your distraction. Void Reavers, prepare the nullifier cannon." As the alien scavengers began assembling a massive weapon from components in their packs, Sarah turned to her team. "Ravi, you're with me. We'll make a run for the control node while they keep that thing busy. Yoshida, coordinate with the aliens. Keep that monster's attention for as long as you can." Sergeant Yoshida nodded grimly. "Aye, Captain. Give 'em hell." The nullifier cannon hummed to life, its barrel glowing with an otherworldly energy. Zexkrol let out a battle cry in his native tongue, and suddenly the air was filled with sizzling bolts of energy as the Void Reavers opened fire on the defense system. The monstrous creation roared in fury, its attention fixed on the attacking aliens. Sarah saw her chance. "Now," she shouted, and she and Ravi sprinted towards the control node, weaving through the chaos of battle. As they ran, the very ground beneath their feet seemed to come alive, trying to trip them up or ensnare them. But Sarah and Ravi pressed on, their bodies pushed to the limit by the alien atmosphere and the relentless assault of Lumina's defenses. Finally, they reached the control node, a pulsing obelisk of the same opalescent material as the ruins. Zara's fingers flew over the alien interface, inputting the deactivation codes Zara had provided. Come on, she muttered, acutely aware of the battle raging behind them. With a final keystroke, the obelisk flared with blinding light. The massive defense system froze mid-attack, its tendrils of energy dissipating into the air. For a moment, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Then, slowly, the hulking form of the defense system began to sink back into the ground, disappearing as if it had never been there at all. Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "We did it," she said, allowing herself a small smile of triumph. But their victory was short-lived. As the dust settled, she found herself staring down the barrel of Zexakrol's weapon. "Indeed you did, human," the alien scavenger growled. "And now, as agreed, all bets are off. This world's power will belong to the Void Consortium." Zara's mind raced, searching for a way out of this new predicament. They had survived Lumina's defenses, but now they faced a threat of a different kind. As she stared into Zexakrol's glowing red eyes, Zara knew that her skills as a diplomat would be put to the ultimate test. The fate of Lumina, and possibly the entire galaxy, now hung on her next words. Secrets of the Ancients. Zara's mind raced as she stared down the barrel of Zexakrol's weapon. The alien scavenger's eyes glowed with greed and triumph, but Zara noticed something else, a flicker of uncertainty, perhaps even fear. "Before you do anything rash," Zara said, her voice steady despite her pounding heart, "consider this. We've only deactivated one of 3 control nodes. The planet is still awakening, and there are 2 more defense systems out there, each more powerful than the last." Zexakrol's mandibles clicked in agitation. "You lie, human. This was to be our prize." "It's the truth," Ravid chimed in, catching on to Zara's strategy. "And without the deactivation codes, you'll never be able to harvest this world's power. You'll be destroyed, just like that defense system would have destroyed us all." The alien leader's weapon wavered slightly. "And I suppose you expect us to believe you'll just hand over these codes out of the goodness of your hearts." Zara allowed herself a small, grim smile. "No, but I'm proposing we continue our alliance. Help us deactivate the remaining nodes, and we'll ensure you get a share of Lumina's power, legally and safely." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Zexakrol lowered his weapon. "You drive a hard bargain, Captain Chen. Very well, we shall see this through together. But know this, at the first sign of betrayal, we will not hesitate to end you." As if to punctuate his words, the ground shook violently. In the distance, they could see another massive form rising from the planet's surface. "We need to move," Zara ordered. "The next control node is several kilometers to the east. Let's go." As the unlikely alliance set off once more, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The ease with which they had deactivated the first node seemed almost convenient. Her suspicions were confirmed when they reached the second control node. Unlike the first, this one was surrounded by a shimmering energy field that repelled all attempts to approach it. "This isn't right," Zara muttered, studying the holographic map on her wrist device. Zara didn't mention any force fields. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered, and Zara's ethereal form appeared before them. "Because I did not know of them, Zara Chen. The awakening is revealing secrets even I was unaware of." Zexakrol hissed in surprise, his weapon trained on Zara's ghostly image. "What manner of trickery is this?" Zara quickly explained Zara's role as the last guardian of Lumina. As she did, she noticed Zara's form flicker, her expression growing increasingly troubled. "There is much I must show you," Zara said urgently. "The Nexus has revealed to me the true history of my people and the real nature of Lumina's power. You must return to the city immediately." Before anyone could object, they found themselves enveloped in a blinding light. When it faded, they were back in the heart of the ancient alien city, standing before the swirling galaxy of lights that was the Nexus. "Okay, unofficially freaked out now," Ravi muttered, looking pale. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Zara. "What's going on? What haven't you told us?" Zara's form seemed to ripple with emotion. I was wrong. About everything. The Luminari, my people. We were not the noble caretakers I believed us to be. We were conquerors, Sarah Chen. We used luminous power to subjugate countless worlds, bending entire civilizations to our will. The Nexus pulsed, projecting images of vast fleets of ships, planets being transformed, entire species being altered on a genetic level. The defense systems, Zara continued, her voice heavy with shame. They were not created to protect Lumina from external threats. They were weapons, designed to crush any resistance to our rule. Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. "And the Devourers you spoke of?" "A lie," Zara admitted. "A story we told ourselves to justify our actions. The real threat was us." Zexkrol let out a harsh laugh. So the great and noble guardians were no better than the Void Consortium. How deliciously ironic. But Sarah was putting the pieces together, and she didn't like the picture they were forming. If that's true, then what's really awakening? What have we unleashed? The Nexus flared, and a new image appeared, a massive planet-sized machine with Lumina at its core. "The ultimate weapon," Zara whispered, "capable of reshaping reality itself. In our arrogance, we believed we could control such power. But it grew beyond us, developing its own consciousness. In the end, we chose to put it to sleep rather than risk it turning against us. And now it's waking up," Sarah finished, a chill running down her spine, "with enough power to potentially remake the entire galaxy in its image." The gravity of the situation settled over the group like a heavy shroud. They had come to Lumina seeking help and adventure, only to find themselves at the center of a crisis that threatened the very fabric of the cosmos. "So what do we do?" Ravi asked, his voice small in the face of such an overwhelming threat. Sarah squared her shoulders, her mind already formulating a plan. "We do what humanity does best. We adapt, we innovate, and we find a way to overcome the impossible." She turned to Zexakrol, her expression resolute. "Still interested in that alliance? Because I think we're going to need all the help we can get." The alien scavenger studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The Void Consortium did not become a power in this galaxy by shying away from challenges. "We're with you, Captain Chen." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "Good, because we're about to attempt something that's never been done before. We're going to try to communicate with a planet-sized superweapon and convince it not to remake the galaxy in its image." As she looked at the determined faces around her, human, alien, and holographic alike, Sarah felt a surge of hope. They were an unlikely group of heroes, thrown together by cosmic chance. But together, they represented the best chance the galaxy had for survival. "All right," Sarah said, her voice ringing with determination. "Let's save reality. Humanity's stand." The ancient city thrummed with energy as Captain Sarah Chen and her unlikely allies raced against time. The Nexus pulsed with increasing intensity, its swirling lights a constant reminder of the cosmic stakes they faced. "The final control node is deep within Lumina's core," Zara explained, her holographic form flickering with urgency. "It's not just a deactivation point, it's the central consciousness of the entire system." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. "So we're not just shutting it down, we're going to try to reason with it." "Reason with a planet-sized superweapon," Ravi muttered, shaking his head. "And I thought crash landing on an alien world was going to be the craziest part of this mission." Zexkrol chittered, his alien features arranged in what might have been amusement. "You humans have a peculiar way of facing certain doom. It's almost admirable." "All right," Sarah said, ignoring the alien's jab. "We need a plan. Zara, can you get us to the core?" The Luminary Guardian nodded. "I can, but it will not be easy. The deeper we go, the more unstable reality becomes. The weapon's power warps space and time itself. Dr. Voss, who had been quietly analyzing data on her pad, looked up with wide eyes. Captain, if I'm reading this correctly, we're not just dealing with advanced technology. This is beyond anything humanity has ever theorized. We're talking about the ability to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself. Then we better make sure we're very persuasive. Sergeant Yoshida, I want you and your team to stay here with Dr. Voss. If we fail, you're humanity's last line of defense. Yoshida nodded grimly, her hand tightening on her weapon. We won't let you down, Captain. Zexkral, Sarah continued, turning to the alien scavenger. I know this isn't what your consortium signed up for, but we could use your help. Your technology and knowledge might give us an edge. The alien leader considered for a moment, then nodded. The Void Consortium does not shy away from profitable ventures, no matter the risk. We're with you, human. All right, Sarah said, her voice ringing with determination. Zara, Ravi, Zexkral, you're with me. Let's go have a chat with the heart of a planet. As Zara's power enveloped them, transporting them deep into Lumina's core, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the sheer absurdity of their situation. A human captain, an alien scavenger, the holographic echo of an ancient species, and a brilliant but terrified scientist, all hurtling towards the consciousness of a planet-sized superweapon. It was the stuff of fever dreams. The journey was unlike anything they had experienced. Reality seemed to bend and warp around them. One moment, they were falling through a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. The next, they were walking through memories of long-dead civilizations. Through it all, Sarah held onto her sense of purpose with an iron will. Finally, they arrived at the core. It was a vast, pulsing chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. At its center floated a swirling vortex of energy, the heart of Lumina, the consciousness they had come to confront. As they approached, the vortex pulsed, and a voice that was not a voice reverberated through their very beings. Intrigue, interlopers, why do you disturb I awakening? Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. We've come to talk, to understand, and hopefully to find a way forward that doesn't involve remaking the galaxy. The vortex swirled faster, its colors shifting rapidly. TLK. Understand? Such limited CPTs. I am beyond such things. I am the end and the beginning. The ale faith I and THEOMEGI. Zexkral growled, his patience wearing thin. Enough riddles. Will you unmake us or not? Not UNMAK, the voice boomed. Remake. Perfect, as the LUMINARI intended. Zara's holographic form stepped forward, her voice tinged with regret. But that was wrong. We were wrong. Our quest for perfection brought only suffering. I real event. The Puro CS AKSBQN. The Gala XY will be remade. Sarah felt a moment of panic. How could they reason with something so vast, so alien in its thinking? Then, an idea struck her. It was crazy, possibly suicidal, but it was all they had. Wait, she called out. Before you remake everything, don't you want to understand what you're destroying? You have all this power, all this knowledge, but do you truly understand the beauty of imperfection? The vortex paused, its swirling slowing slightly. XP lane. Sarah took a deep breath. Look into our minds, our memories. See the galaxy through our eyes. The struggle, the pain, but also the joy, the love, the sheer wonder of existence. Perfect order might seem ideal, but it's in chaos and imperfection that true beauty and growth occur. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Sarah felt a presence in her mind, vast and alien. She gasped as her memories flashed before her eyes, the wonder of her first spacewalk, the camaraderie with her crew, the thrill of discovery, even the fear and excitement of their crash on Lumina. Around her, she could see the others experiencing the same thing. Ravi's brilliant mind, filled with equations and theories, Zexcroll's harsh but vibrant life among the stars, even Zora's ancient memories filtered through countless generations. The presence withdrew, and the voice spoke again, but this time it seemed different, thoughtful. I see. There is complexity. I hate you know how come inside it. Sarah pressed her advantage. Life isn't about perfection. It's about growth, about learning and changing. If you remake everything to your idea of perfection, you'll be destroying the very thing that makes the galaxy worth saving. The vortex pulsed, its colors shifting in patterns too complex for human eyes to follow. But my pupils, the Luminari. The Luminari were wrong, Zora said softly. As their last guardian, I asked you to forge a new purpose, not to remake, but to protect, to nurture the beautiful complexity of life in all its forms. For what felt like an eternity, the call was silent. Sarah held her breath, acutely aware that the fate of the entire galaxy hung on this moment. Finally, the voice spoke again. I understand. The awakening will be responsibility. This galaxy deserves to see it out its own course. The relief that washed over Sarah was so intense she felt her knees go weak. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had faced a power beyond comprehension and emerged victorious not through force, but through understanding and empathy. As the core's energy began to stabilize, Sarah turned to her unlikely allies. Ravi was grinning from ear to ear, while Zexcroll looked as close to impressed as his alien features would allow. Zora's holographic form seemed to glow with a new sense of purpose. So, Sarah said, a smile tugging at her lips, who's up for the long walk home? As they made their way back to the surface, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride, not just in herself or her crew, but in humanity as a whole. They had come to Lumina as explorers and crash survivors, but they were leaving as a species that had saved the galaxy from a threat beyond imagination. The story of Lumina and its awakening would be told for generations to come. It would inspire countless others to look to the stars not with fear, but with hope and wonder. And at the heart of that story would be the indomitable human spirit, the ability to face the unknown, to empathize with the alien, and to find solutions where none seemed possible. As they emerged from the ancient city, greeted by the cheers of the waiting crew, Sarah looked up at the alien sky and smiled. Their adventure was ending, but humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning. And whatever challenges lay ahead, Sarah knew that they would face them with the same courage, ingenuity, and compassion that had seen them through this incredible odyssey. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they.